Hi, hello everyone. Good evening. Hi, Saurabh. How
Hi
are you?
friends, hi Dr. Anand. Namaste and a very warm welcome to all WDA. We continue today our eighth lecture of Endo Masterclass exclusive on WDA with our esteemed speaker Dr. Devrat Singh from Dubai. Uh, hello,
Hello, Saurav. Hello, Anand.
hello sir. Very good
Hi,
evening.
sir.
Good evening.
How are you, sir?
I'm
UAE?
fine. Yeah.
How's Dubai?
Thank you, sir. Yeah, Dr. Anand will give a brief introduction about Devrat sir, and then we will begin our lecture. Dr. Anand, please.
Thanks a lot, Saurabh. So, Devrat Singh, sir. I met him way back in 2013. And instead of reading his entire bio, which I'll end up doing, I have just one description for him. He is a textbook in himself. You ask him any damn thing on endodontics, and he'll come out with the entire literature on it. Anyone who knows him well, like for example, Saurabh him knows him well for the past 7, 8 years, would vouch for
I
him.
agree.
Devrat sir
I agree.
is the bank of knowledge that I have seen. I might have seen a lot of endodontists, a lot of dentists, but he's one of those few people who is full of knowledge, who is always there with proper knowledge, no nonsense, and he
To the
is
point
the best
answers.
person
To the point
to the
answers.
point answers and full of evidence, full of research, full of proper backing. So I guess that is the best introduction that we can have for sir. Though obviously I'll give you a brief introduction about him. So Devrat sir completed his BDS from Sharad Pawar Dental College, Wardha, way back in 2001. Then he did his masters from Government Dental College, Aurangabad in 2006. He was working as a reader in the Department of Conservative Dentistry and Endodontics in SBB Dental College and Research Center, Ghaziabad, till 2014. He was a certified Dentsply trainer in India till 2014. And currently, since the past 6 years, sir has been working as a specialist restorative dentist and endodontist in Dubai. It is a great honor to have you, sir. It
Same
is going
here.
to be real fun, I'm sure.
Sure. Thank you.
Sir, the stage is all yours. Let's begin.
Okay. Okay. Hello, everyone. Today we'll be discussing one of the most people think it as a boring topic, yeah, but it is one of the most important topics again. Definitely in root canal, what we place inside is also equally important. May not be that important what we take it out, but it is equally important to have a good success rate. So in that, obturation is one of the main thing, and in obturation, the sealers is that. The most common thing when we talk about sealers and obturations, people will ask, so which technique we are using and which sealer is good. This is the most common question you will see in the Facebooks. Everybody will be asking about that. Okay. So we will be discussing about the sealers so that we can at least know about how we are going to choose our sealers if we want to use it in a scientific way. There are definitely lots of people who would use sealers because it is easily available. It is the only sealer they have it, or somebody recommended it. But yeah, there has to be a scientific way of suggesting a sealer. Okay, we go about it. How we define a sealer? Basically, root canal sealers. They are a radio opaque dental cements. So they are basically acting as a binding agent to bind GP to the dentine wall. Plus, they are also fillers. So they are the fillers who fill the spaces which cannot be filled with GP. So like irregularities, isthmuses, concavities, so lateral canals, accessory canals, these can be filled with that. So sealers are basically that. Why we require sealers? Because gutta pacha is a main core material, it cannot join to a dentine properly, and when we heat it, though initially it expands on heat, but on cooling down, it contracts. Though we apply condensation pressure, compaction with our pluggers, but still there is we see a shrinkage in the GP. So to overcome that, we have to use a sealers. So we have already told what is the role of a sealer. I have already told it is basically a glue. We can call it a glue, sort of a glue or binding agent or a fillers in this. So if you see basically dentine and GP, and in between we can see the sealers. Now, ideal properties basically were given by Grossman. There were 11 properties as stated by Grossman, 2 additional given, but I don't like to discuss that way. I like to discuss as a way I know what is the most important property if I'm going to discuss has to be that ways I think should be there. So for any endo material, the first thing, because in endo, everything which we are filling, we cannot see with our eye. We can only see the coronal part. We can only see the orifices. We cannot see deep down. So first important point for any sealer is that it should be a radio opaque. So radio opacity is the main thing for any endodontic material. It should be radio opaque. That should be the first. If it is not radio opaque, it cannot be used in endo. Second is retrievability. It should be, we should be able to remove it. There should be some way easier or harder, but it should be retrievable. If it is not, it cannot be. That's why we don't use composites, flowable composites in endo, because we cannot retrieve it. We don't use amalgams because we cannot retrieve it. Third, it has to be dimensionally stable. We don't want material which shrinks too much or which expand too much, which can lead to cracks. So there was some cement used to expand and crack the tooth, so those we don't want. Okay. Additional to that, we want a good adhesion between sealer and a core material, that is gutta percha or any polymer core materials, and a good adhesion between sealer and the dentine. This is what we want, so that it creates a hermetic seal as per Grossman. But today's scenario, I will say it should be more than hermetic seal. It should be hermetic seal, may not be as tight as bacterial, so we want a high bacterial seal or an airtight seal. Secondly, they should be insoluble, or they should have a lowest solubility. Now, when we say this, it is something, a property which is sometimes we want it as solubility, sometimes we don't. Like if I want my material to be a bioactive to promote some healing, it has to liberate calcium and hydroxyl ion. It has to be soluble for that. Okay, but we don't want excess solubility, that it loses its cohesiveness, it loses its texture, it starts creating a gaps and porosity in which bacteria can grow. So we don't want that kind of a solubility. We want a minimum solubility. Okay, and materials which are completely inert, insoluble, they are very difficult to remove. So they will not be soluble to any other solvents also. So we want limited solubility in tissue fluids, limited solubility, but it should be soluble to other material than water and tissue fluids, so that it can be retrieved also. Then sealer should be lubricant. They should have a lubrication so that we can apply cone easily. They should be easy to manipulation. This is the one of the main thing where most of the companies have started making their different kind of materials and their delivery systems. They should have a sufficient working time and setting time, which is very important. Just decide how much sealer we want. Now they should not be affected by heat. Heat not only in the room temperature where we are storing, it is a heat in the application also. Like we know, if we compare the obturation technique, if I compare a single cone technique with most people which are trying to do it, compare with that of lateral condensation or warm vertical compaction, lateral condensation and warm verticals are more better compared to a single cone technique, if we are leaving few sealers out. In that, lateral condensation takes lots of time. So in that, vertical compaction is one of the ways. So we want a sealer where we can use our warm compaction machines and carriers and pluggers. They should be non-staining. They should be antibacterial. Grossman told it to be bacteriostatic. I prefer it can be a bactericidal, much better, because sometimes we are not able to remove all the bacteria, even with the best our irrigation and chemomechanical preparations. They should be biological acceptable. They should be bio. Initially, they can be slightly irritating to give a favorable result, but once said, they should be bio-inert. They should not give any problem. So we can say they can be bio-inert, biocompatible, or minimum to minimum, they should be biotolerable. Bioactive, that they should give up materials which induces a hard tissue formation or repair in the tissues. And last, like any material, they should not be carcinogenic. Now we will discuss about specifications, number 57, which is given for endodontic materials. So these are the specifications over which materials are designed. So whenever we say it's follow these specifications, we should know when companies say that it's following those specifications, these are the properties he has followed. There may be some properties which be additional, which may not be good, but when he won't get a specification, it is standardized on specification 7. These are the properties he is coming up to. Okay, so any material which is made as an endodontic sealer, it should have a setting time which is 10% of that stated of manufacturer in different conditions, different humidity condition, different temperature. If the setting time is varying in the different tests because of different conditions, then it is not following the IDS specification. It has to be in 10% range, plus minus 10% in minutes and hours. Okay. Film thickness, sealer, basically it is a luting or a filler or binding agent. It should have a thinner film thickness so that it doesn't leak or bind. Like even in Prosto, we see any restorative cement has to be thinner. If the bigger the luting agent, more weak is the linkage. So we want it to be the thinner mostly. So this property is given as 50 micrometer. Now this property is good, but it is not considered in today's scenario very valid with bioceramic sealers and your siloxane sealers. They are highly inert. They are not soluble. So in those, we are seeing the sealer thickness is exceeding these thickness. Flow test. Now they should have a flow which should not diameter of not less than 20 millimeter. Okay, so it should not be very thin in that. And radio opacity, they should have minimum of 3 mm aluminum. So this is a minimum. So in this radio opacity, there are few sealers like AH26 and AH plus, which comes exact on that. That's why the most radiographically beautiful appearing endodontic X-rays are from those sealers. Now there should be a minimum dimensional change. So we allow only 1% shrinkage and 0.1% expansion. Why not too much expansion? If there is a too much expansion, it can crack the root. Shrinkage, again, we can compensate by applying heat and compacting tightly. But expansion, we cannot decrease it. If it keep expanding, it can crack the tooth. Solubility, it should not be more than 0.1. So not be more than 3% and should be around 0.1. Okay. Now when we are going to sealer, we are going to discuss with the obturation. In obturation, American Association of Endodontics have told that sealer has to be minimal amount in the root canal. Now this concept minimal was there because in those times the sealers which we had, they were highly soluble. So whenever we used to do an obturations, because of their low solubility, their high solubility and leakage properties and lower biocompatibilities, we wanted them to be as thin as possible. So we were using a techniques more like a lateral condensation and warm vertical compactions. These were the techniques which we are using from 1960s till early 2000. So we were using those. So in those time, we wanted a sealer to be minimum. Now definitely we have a better materials like bioceramics and MTA based sealers. So definitely it is not important that it has to be minimum now. Okay. So in olden techniques with older sealers were the weakest links. Now lower ones are better. So in that we can say that. Now how we classify sealers? Cohen has classified them as a class 1, class 2, class type 1 and type 2, which can be used with core material, which can be used with and without core materials. Okay. Not very important classification from my side. I don't like this class. I would like to have a classification most on the ingredient based. So to me, should be classified as zinc oxide based. They can be zinc oxide eugenol based. In that, most commonly ones are Rickett sealer, which is also known as your PCS sealer, extended working time. Or we have a Tugli seal. We have a batch paste. We had a Roth sealer, which was a Grossman sealer. Then we have non-eugenol sealers of fatty acid, that is nogenol sealers. Then we have zinc oxide medicated sealers, which can be made from paraformaldehyde like endomethasone, N2, but mostly they are not used anymore. Iodofoam sealers like Dentalis, Endoflas, steroid-based sealers like endomethasone, N, Endofil, and anti-inflammatory NSAID-based sealers like Sealite Ultra. Then we have second class of sealers known as salicylate sealers. People also know them as a calcium hydroxide based sealers. Basically, again, they are zinc oxide based sealers only. But in that liquid, instead of being a fatty acid or eugenol, it is a salicylate. Or paste is that. So they are CRCS, Apexit, Apexit Plus, Silapex. So most commonly available in market right now are Apexit Plus, Silapex, and MTF Filapex in that. Then we have Gatta Parcha based sealers. Initially, they were solvent based sealers, which are not used anymore. Then we have silicon based sealers. So you can call them a Gatta Parcha because basically it is a silicon majority. Yeah, but in silicon, we have added 30 micrometer Gatta Parcha as a filler. So we can also call them as a Gatta Parcha based sealer. So they are Rico sealers, Gatta Flow 2, Gatta Flow BioSeal. Then we have bioactive glass sealers. Now, bioactive glass sealers are basically, they are BioRoot RCS and Gatta Flow BioSeal. So they have a Gatta Parcha and a bioglass for the bioactive action. Then we have a resin-based sealers like polyvinyl, which is die-kit, not used anymore. Epoxy resins still there, known as AH26, AH+. We have AdSeal by Meta, AcroSeal, MMSeal by Macromega. They are still there. Then we have methacrylate resin sealers. So these are the sealers which were developed over our composite technology on composite resin and our bonding. So it was first generation was Hydron, then it came as Endo-Erized. Then third generation was Fabrifill and Epiphany, which had a bonding agents also in that with primers. And last being like a self-adhesive sealers, self-adhesive sealers and self-etching, something like what we use as a luting cements nowadays in crowns, like U200, which is self-adhesive. We don't require any bonding and priming. So same way we try to develop sealers which can be etching and bonding itself. So they were hybrid root seal, meta seal, and super bond RC. Then glass ionomer sealers like Kitak Endo was there, active AV was also there from Bressler. They have also tried cyanoacrylate, polycarboxylate, but not the successful. Then we have calcium phosphate based sealers still in infancy. Then we have MTA based sealers. They can be called as a sort of a bioceramic sealers. From this point, we can say now we are entering into bioceramic sealers. So in that one can be MTA based sealers like ProRoot Endo Sealer, Endo CPM Sealer, Endo Seal MTA Sealer, and calcium silicate phosphate pure bioceramic single phase sealers like Endosequin, iRoot SP, Cerasil. So these are those. Okay, so these are the basic sealers in zinc oxide eugenol which we know. Now there are lots of, but in this now what are available to us is only a pulp canal sealer by Kerr, or it is in India it is available from Sabron Endo, PCS, EWT, extended working time, and Tubli-Seal again by Sabron Endo, Kerr, extended working time. So these are the only sealer which is easily available right now. Okay. Then fatty acid, no more they are available. Salicylic, we only have Silapex again by Sabron and Kerr available. Then we have Apexit Plus by Avoclar still available, and Angelus MTA Filapex. Now MTA Filapex is not an MTA based sealer, it is basically primarily is salicylate based sealer and zinc oxide sealer. 13% is only MTA as a filler. So it is more of a salicylate based sealer, not an MTA based sealer. Now we have glass ionomer based sealers like Kitak Endo, but again they are not used. They are discontinued by the companies. Silicon based sealers, we have RecoSeal, Guttaflow, BioSeal. They are still there. In market, you are finding all three there. Still Coltene is giving all three those. Epoxy resin, there were lots of them, but easily available. AH26, sometime you may find it, but company has stopped it most of the places. AH plus is what they are giving. And in AH plus also, they are giving a new varieties which are Automix, AH plus jets. Now we have AdSeal, one of the very common with Beta Biomed available. We can see AcroSeal in India easily and MMSeal. Now methacrylate resin sealers, they were, I told you, first generation Hydron, second generation Endores, third generation Epiphany, Fabrifill, fourth generation were Real Seal. Out of this, first three generations are completely outdated and they are discontinued. So now what we are going to find is basically is Superbond RC seal or hybrid root seal. These are the sealers which are going to find in methacrylate. They are given by Sun Medical. So it is available in India by Sun Medical. Now bioceramic sealers and triclosan, I'm combining both together, MTA and bioceramic together. So in that we still have ProRoot MTA sealer. Then we have similar to MTA a biodentine. So we have a BioRoot RCS sealer by Septodont. Then we have pure bioceramic sealers like Endosequence, iRoot SP, Total Fill, Edge Endo. All four are the same sealer made by Innovative, but marketed by different companies. So you may find iRoot SP, Endosequence, different company, but they are the same thing. They are made by same company. Then we have Cerasil. Cerasil B by Indian company is also there. BioSealer. Okay. Capsule is still in infancy. So now we go with the first sealer, zinc. So we will going to discuss the sealer which are easily available, which we are going to use it and most commonly used. So now we are going to talk about zinc oxide based sealers, in that eugenol sealers. Okay, why they are, what is the difference? Like when I started in Endo and long back after BDS, I used to think Endo sealers and if I'm using a zinc oxide restorative is same. No, they are not same. You cannot use a restorative cement oxide restorative sealer as a sealer. Why you cannot? Because sealers have a rosin and kind of balsam. So they give it basically a physical property of a smoothness, tackiness, and a more body compared to a eugenol. And they have a greater amount of radiopacifiers. And their setting time is also retarded so that they can set faster compared to those. That's why zinc oxide sealers are different from a zinc oxide based restorative materials. Now they are the time tested, oldest sealers, most tested, most literature has on them. They are antimicrobial because zinc oxide is antimicrobial. Even eugenol is antimicrobial activity. Okay, their flow is basically is improved, not affected too much by heat. Okay, so they can be used in warm and thermoplasticized technique both, even with the lateral condensation. They have a slow setting time, so we get lots of working time, so very good for lateral condensation. But they have a disadvantage that they shrink on setting. Solubility is high. Any eugenol salt which forms like zinc oxide eugenolate, it decomposes that it's soluble in tissue fluids. So over the time, over the years, it loses its seal. Now, why it is important? When people say it loses it, why it is important? People will say, I'm using this sealer, I never saw the failures. Definitely, you will never see a failures because I told you what we remove is more important. Missing a canal, you will see much earlier failure. Filling wise, even if you cannot clean it very well and you don't fill it, you will not get most failures. Filling based failures comes later in the stages. If coronal seal also breaks and bacteria somehow penetrate again. So that seal which we get from your gutta percha and sealers, that we loses and that again get infected. So it is not as much important what we take out, but it is also important for the long term. Now, how we can see it, why it is important, if you retreat the cases, and the maximum time when I have retreated the cases, I see whenever I'm going the GP with H file, they come out very easily and it looks like plain GP without any sealers. So I definitely know the person who has done it, he must have placed the sealers. But when I remove, I don't see any sealers in that. So that way we can know the sealers are resorbing inside. And zinc oxide based sealers have lots of porosity in that. Okay, good advantage is that they can resorb if they are extruded. Okay, but initial zinc oxide based sealers had one disadvantage, they had silver added to them. So those silver used to give staining. Now later stages the silver was removed, so now no more they gave us staining that much. The most important problem with zinc oxide based sealers is now our dentistry has gone from restorative materials, from silver amalgam, GIC, to more towards the composite. Now we are doing more of a biomimetic composite based restoration, adhesive dentistries to save much and more possibility possible. Now problem with zinc oxide based sealers is it doesn't allow you to use composite immediately. Definitely you can use a composite over that, but there are different ways. Either you have to add a layer of liner like GIC or something over in between composite and that so that they don't react, or you have to wait for 7 to 10 days so that activity is decreased, or you have to use different type of chemicals to decrease the activity of your eugenol on that. Now example is Ricket sealer, which is PCS curve, Grossman sealer, which is known as Roth sealer, Watch paste, not available in India and it was only in US, which is available, Tubli-Seal, which is there. So they shrink, they have lower shrinkable, they shrink, which I have seen that, but they're easiest to handle, that is there. Mostly they are powder liquid or paste base. Most of these sealers, they initially had silver and they had a formaldehyde release, and eugenol basically is cytotoxic. So it decreases pain, but it is a cytotoxic also. So we start with the first sealer, which is the Ricket sealer. It was introduced in 1931, but it is the gold standard in zinc oxide eugenol, still available. It is available as a pulp canal sealer by Savron or Kerr, or pulp canal sealer, extended working time, that is 6 hour extended working times with setting time of 24 to 36 hours. Now, this sealer is very good sealer for vertical compaction, where lateral canal are suspected, and since it is extended time, you can use it for lateral condensation also. It has a very good flow, so it goes in the lateral canal very nicely. Now, it has a good lubricating properties. It has a bulk in it, so it can be used to fill the voids and defects. It is bactericidal. If it goes extended, it can be resorbed. And like any zinc oxide eugenol sealer, it is inhibitor of prostaglandins. Disadvantages, initially it had a silver, so it used to stain. Now, second problem with in high temperature and humid areas in the cities, it can set faster. So basically, if you are living near the coastal areas in Bombay and Chennai and Calcutta, definitely there will be an issue. It will set faster compared to that. Or people living in a cold environment, it will be that. So mixing in those areas is a problem. How to store it, then how to mix. So in those areas where high temperature, better, we require AC. If it is more near the sea, we want closed doors, less humidity. Those are things which we want. That is there. Plus, temperature and humidity also has an issue in the canal wise also. Not only that, if I am using in the canal has lots of moisture, it will set faster. It will not allow me to place a master cone properly to the length. So I want my canal to be dry in these cases. And when I'm using a warm vertical compaction technique, it is going to set faster. So applying too much pressure can crack my sealer. Okay, so it has a rapid setting in those. Grossman sealer, it was a second sealer. It was given by Grossman. Grossman made the sealer fulfilling all the criteria which he has laid down, which Rickard was not following all, but it was following all. It came as a Procosol non-staining Procosol sealer. Then it came as a Procosol non-staining sealer without silver, and it was reintroduced again in 1974 with addition of sodium borate and a pure eugenol sealer. Okay. Last version was Roth 811, but it was discontinued in 2018, and the company is no longer make Grossman or Roth sealers. It was also a powder liquid sealer using a composition of 2:1 or 3:1. 3:1 for the molar and 2:1 they used to say for the bicuspid. To me, this should be more percentage should be more dependent upon the flow rather than that. If I want more viscous, I will like to have 2:1 and 3:1, and less viscous 2:1. It was antimicrobial. It has a good plasticity. It has a slow setting time, okay, of 8 to 10 hours. But at 100% humidity, it was only 2 hours. So it also was affected by humidity. It was inexpensive, and but since it's no longer usable, so we are not going to talk a lot about it. Vatch paste was similar. Zinc oxide eugenol sealer introduced by Vatch Laboratories. Or Roth International in Chicago. Basically, Cresol were added to it. It was very tacky and very sticky. So it was basically used in cases where there were chances of overfill, open apexes, short thin root canals. It was there. It had a medium working time. It was minimally irritation was there, but it was less lubricating because it was more sticky. And main problem was odor. So it chemical liquid which was used was having a typical medical based odor which used to come in old time from the dentist clinic. So because it was a strong smell of eugenol in that. Now Tublicil by Kerr, as PCS was already made by Kerr, which was on the Rickett, but it used to have a stain. And PCS initially came as a powder liquid. So they made Tublicil over that, which was non-staining and was a paste. So it was widely used in this. So it was marketed as two paste systems, where we have to use half an inch of the paste. It used to set on the glass slab in 20 minutes, but in canal where there is a moisture, it used to set faster in 5 minutes. So extended working time was preferred, and it was made as a Tublicil extended working time, so that we can use in as a lateral condensation. Because the time it was made, that time the technique which were more popular were lateral condensation, silver cones, lateral condensation, and warm vertical. So in that time, we wanted extended work time so that we can use it for the better technique in that time, which was this lateral condensation. With immediate apical surgery to be performed, this was one of the common material Tublicil could have been used because it used to set faster, and it has a good flow, so it could be used when cone is not reaching to the last millimeter. So it has a good flow and good lubrication. It was used in that. Now, latest version which we are getting in Tublicil is called as Tublicil extended working time, same like PCS extended working time, and it is also available in auto mix tubes like Tublicil Express. It was easy to mix, no staining, bacteriostatic was there, mild irritation was there. It is high lubricant. It used to extrude through the apical foramen, so that's why we used to prefer when our master cone was not going to the full thickness. Or in cases of ledges also you could have used it, so it could flow in the unprepared canal also. Okay, so Tublicil EWT Express is basically automatic syringe, and EW Seal was a paste-based system. So what we take away from the zinc oxide, PCS EWT in warm vertical compaction we prefer when we suspect lateral canals and warm vertical compactions. Tubular seal extended working time we prefer when master cone is not reaching to the last mm or root resection has to be performed, or there's a blockage or canal which we were not able to clean. So we want a good flow there. Okay, but you cannot use them when you are going to use a composite as an immediate core material. So either you have to delay your core material, or you have to use a different type of core material, or in cases where you are going to use a fiber post. Again, normally in fiber post we used to prefer a resin sealers. Now resin cements we cannot use with zinc oxide based sealer, so we cannot use a fiber post when we are using this. So it is a major problem. So either you have to use the GIC, which decrease the adhesive strength of the fiber post, not creating a monoblock, or you have to use a metal post with zinc phosphate sealers. Those are the things you have to use that. But in today's scenario, I will rather prefer to have a composite restorations with minimal cutting, which are more biomimetic, and I want to have a sealing as soon as I obturate, because I don't believe my patient can maintain it, because coronal seal I know is one of the most important aspect in the obturation or endodontics. Best endo can fail if there's a poor coronal seal. So I want my tooth to have a immediate good coronal seal. I want to have a good composite restoration, no marginal recurrence fusion. So I want to have a composite which bonds to a dentine and enamel. But I know since usual have a problem, so these are not the material which I will prefer in my practice that much. No single cone obturations are allowed with those because zinc oxide usual has a high solubility. Only warm vertical compaction and carrier based obturations or in lateral condensations can be used. Now medicated zinc oxide usuals were also made, like I told, which has a paraformaldehyde, steroid, non-steroidal antibiotics. Now why they were given? They were given to suppress preoperative pain, thinking that they can decrease the pain when we are giving a steroid. Some of them were strong antimicrobial like paraformaldehyde, or decreasing a pain by non-steroidal. So these were given. The problem is whenever you give a filler, I never believe in these sealers from the starting, because if these sealers have to liberate these active ingredients, they have to dissolve in tissue fluid. There are two ways that tissue fluid can get these steroid and these. Either I push my sealer out so that my tissue fluid can absorb from extra sealer which is out, which I don't want in any obturation by pushing my sealer eventually out, because I want maximum core material to seal my pithectomy foramen. So either one way was that where I am not sealing properly with a core material, that I can get these material in the tissue fluid, or second, a sealer having a high solubility. Again, I don't want my sealer to be soluble. So since I don't want my sealer to be highly soluble, nor I want excess sealer to go inside. So these are the sealer which I don't wanted in my practice, because I knew they had a problem. They are only liberating either they are highly soluble or they want me to do a wrong netting. Now, most commonly in that was paraformaldehyde based sealers like N2, endomethasone, SPAD, and Ribler paste. We are not going to discuss too much about them because they are not available anymore, but they were highly antimicrobial. Paraformaldehyde was highly antimicrobial. But the problem is, though if you see their disinfection zone, their AH+ 26 also used to have a paraformaldehyde released. So if you see paraformaldehyde based sealers, they have a depth of disinfection zone of 1000 or 700. It was a very good antimicrobial activity, but paraformaldehyde was highly cytotoxic to tissues with the nerves, even and neural damages. So if you see in pros and cons, I am not getting major advantage and I am getting maximum disadvantages of a tissue damage and pain. So that's why even though they were highly antimicrobial, they are not used anymore. N2 was not even approved by FDA. It was also known as RC2B. Endomethasone and endomethasone N. You still get endomethasone N in India, which is biceptrodon. It is basically without paraformaldehyde. It has dextromethasone, hydrocortisone, thiamyl iodide without paraformaldehyde. But again, my question is, if it is anti-inflammatory because of steroid, then it is releasing the steroid, then it is making it matrix weaker. It is creating a porosities or having a high solubility. And if it is a good sealer where it doesn't leak, then it is not releasing dexamethasone. So what's the use of having a steroid? Ultra Seal Light Ultra, it was by Acton, now available anymore in India and anywhere. But again, same concept. So my takeaway, antimicrobial effect was high in paraformaldehyde based sealers for 7 days, but risk to benefit ratio, risk was much more because they were cytotoxic and had a poor sealing. Zinc oxide non-eugenol based sealers were introduced because we were using composites, so they thought, okay, remove a eugenol so that, and eugenol was also a cytotoxic, a little bit irritatant. So they thought, why not to make a non-eugenol based sealers? Same time when they started with other zinc oxide based other options like based sealers with chemical solvent based sealers like chlorpercha and those, they started nogenol. It was introduced by GC America. It was a paste base, but it is discontinued anymore. It was having a less irritation, a little bit more biocompatible than zinc oxide eugenol. It used to expand a little bit, but it never used to set properly, and its leakage was very high. Now we come to a calcium hydroxide based sealers, which basically we say as salicylate based sealers. Okay. Now calcium hydroxide based sealers, they were introduced to introduce your activity to form a hard tissue and bioactivity. So basically they liberate calcium hydroxyl ions, which increase the pH to alkaline pH, which causes alkaline pH give us antibacterial activity. It increases the alkaline phosphatase activities, which causes a hard tissue formation. And it also inhibits the osteoclastic activity. So that is a basic therapeutic effect of any calcium hydroxide. So by raising a pH to 12 or more. Okay, but to have these effects of bioactivity, they have to leach out calcium hydroxyl ion. Now it is the same concept of steroid, and that if they are going to leach out, how we are going to make out that if we are not going to push extracellular out, how it going to prevent or take out limited calcium hydroxide, maintaining the matrix or a body of a sealer without having a leakage. It was not possible. So ultimately, all calcium hydroxide sealers, they leak a lot, they break down, they disappear from the canal. So they give a good activities, but they don't provide a good seal. They are zinc oxide eugenol based calcium hydroxide sealers like CRCS by Coltine, not available anymore. Zinc oxide non-eugenol based sealers like salicylate, Silapex, Apexit, and there are also iodoform calcium hydroxide based sealers like Dentalis. Basically, they were supposed to have a bioactivity, but they were found to be highly irritant also. Their irritant action was not because of a calcium hydroxide or high pH, which is basically should be a biocompatible. Their irritant effect was from lack of seal. Their lack of seal was ultimately giving more irritation and inflammation to the tissue. So CRCS was introduced in 1982 by Coltine, but it is not used anymore, so we are not going to discuss that much. Silapex still available. It is a non-eugenol calcium hydroxide polymeric resin roots canal sealer. So it is a polymeric resin. Basically, it's sort of a salicylic resin is there. It is a paste-based based system. In 100% humidity, it takes 3 weeks to reach the final set. But if it is a dry canal, there is no moisture, it is not going to set. When dry, it never sets. It had a good therapeutic effect and biocompatibility, and it used to resolve in 4 to 5 months, and it used to expand lightly. But major disadvantage was again, it absorbed water, it used to disintegrate and used to give poor seal. It was available as paste-based systems and as a Automix also Silapex Express. Somehow I was not fan of these sealers. I will rather prefer zinc oxide eugenol over calcium hydroxide based sealer. So they are also they disintegrate, but their disintegration is less than that of a calcium hydroxide or salicylate based sealers. They are the most soluble sealers, calcium hydroxide, salicylate based sealers. Apexit and Apexit Plus. Now in market we only have Apexit Plus. Apexit was 2-tube. Now Apexit Plus is basically Automix, which is available by Avoclar. Their setting was also dependent on moisture. They used to set faster in presence of a moisture. And so in lower part in the canal where we have a tissue plate, so sometimes they used to seal faster. So Apexit had used to have a problem that after coating a canal with Apexit, they used to set fast in apical area, giving us an issue in placing the master cone properly till the working length. Their setting time was 2 to 5 hours, and in dry canals, setting time was more till 10 hours. And in mixing pad, if you can get a dry area in hot summer days, it was used to remain soft for several days. It was back compatible, easy to mix, slight setting expansion. But basically, like any calcium hydroxylase, it used to again dissolve, and it was seen if it is away from the moisture area in the middle third of the canal, they never used to set. So this was the Apexit Plus. Take away from this salicylate-based sealers, high dissolution and poor sealing. Their therapeutic effect was there, but their therapeutic effect was ultimately leading to poor sealing. So it was not a therapeutic effect I wanted with loss of sealing. And they used to set fast in presence of moisture. Sometimes we know it is very difficult to have a completely dry canal. Even the dentine has a moisture. Sometimes there can be some capillary action of a tissue fluid. So in those cases, it was very difficult to use. There can be a bleeding. So if somebody is doing a single setting, inadvertently he has done a over instrumentation, there is a mild bleeding. You are seeing paper point showing a minute traces of blood. In those cases, it used to block the canals and not allowing a master cone to go down. So I don't prefer these sealers anymore. MTA Filapex, it is the latest in this group. Salicylate, basically having 13 to 15% MTA as a filler powder. So it should not be regarded as a tricalcium sealer. It is more of a salicylate sealer. It has a 35-minute working time and 2-hour setting time. So if you see its setting time is very small, it is good. So we can use again like this, and its solubility because of filler is comparatively lesser than Silapex and Apexit. So it is the one sealer in this group which we can use it. I will not say it is a pure salicylate sealer. It is somewhere in between having a filler or MTA. So it is using a MTA technology, or you can say it is a bioactive salicylate sealer. So we are using a bioactive MTA product inside it. So it is intermediate between bioceramics and our calcium hydroxide salicylate based sealers. So we know MTA acts as a medicament. So basically it increases the bioactivity, increases the pH, which causes a hard tissue formation and calcium ion release and action. These sealers, they have an excellent flow. They used to have a slight expansion like any MTA. They used to expand a little bit. They were easy to remove. Okay, the cytotoxicity of a salicylic acid used to decrease after setting, and since they were less soluble compared to pure salicylic acid sealers, they are less irritating to the tissue. Okay, but they don't bind to dentine nor they bind to core. Okay, and they used to give a slight pain on extrusion because they were not pure MTA basically. Even MTA as a pure sealer, they give a pain because MTA is slightly cytotoxic when it goes out. So it has come as a paste to automix syringe. Now we go to Gatta Parcha based sealers. Initial one was solvent based like Chloroparcha, Chlorperca, Eucoperca, the eugenol and chloroforms. Not used anymore. They were carcinogenic, so removed. So we are not going to discuss too much about them. Then came silicone based sealers. Though basically they are silicone, but since they have a Gatta Parcha inside them as a fillers, so we can classify them in the sort of a Gatta Parcha based sealers. So it is an intermediate of silicone and Gatta Parchas. So they are made of polyvinyl or polydimethyl siloxane materials. It is the same material like what we use in addition silicones. They are dimensionally stable. When they are mixed, they show expansion. So there's an initial expansion. They don't bond to dentine. They are hydrophilic. They don't like moisture like any our impression material. So they are not very hydrophilic. Okay, but they have a good flow consistency, and because of their expansion, they provide us a good sealing. They are rubber-based materials, so they are highly insoluble or they have a lowest solubility. Since they are not soluble, they don't liberate too much of chemicals in the tissue, so they are mostly biocompatible, or you can call it they are bio-inert. They don't liberate anything. Since they don't liberate anything, they are they are not antibacterial also. But in later stages, companies started adding bio coating of your silver particle. So nano silver particles were added to achieve antibacterial activities in silicone-based sealers. So first in this base was Ricoseal, given by Coltene. It has a lower viscosity, excellent flow, highly radio opaque, biocompatible because it never used to liberate anything. It used to expand by 0.2%, which was slightly over ADA specification. It has a lowest solubility. Again, it was not exactly on the ADA specification because it wants some solubility. It was lower solubility. But yeah, it was still, we were able to remove it with solvent and mechanical method. But with tissue fluid, it never used to dissolve. So good sealing was there. And it was hydrophobic slightly. Only problem with Ricoseal being a sort of a polymer, whenever we used to apply a heat, it used to increase the polymerization rate faster. It used to set faster. So doing a warm vertical compaction or heat was very difficult with this. Even when you are doing a lateral condensation and you clean, after doing a lateral condensation, you have cut your cones and you are cleaning on the apical foramen, you are heating the cones. The sealer used to become like a hard mass, and it was used to very difficult to remove it. So it used to set very fast. So it's cleaning of the pulse chamber cavity used to become a difficulty in this. Preferable method was to cut the cones, slightly heat it, use alcohol to remove the maximum sealer, and then again heat it so that you can get a clean pulse chamber. It was available as a single canal cases, so like as a small pellets, and even as a auto mix. Gutta flow was improvement over that in Ricosealer. In this, they added a GP basically of 30 micrometer and nano silver. So now from this, we started getting your antimicrobial activity. Because of a GP, they used to say it used to have a bonding to Gutta Percha also, little bit. Now these were supposed to be injected in the canal fully. As per the company, they said you can use it as a complete core material as the sealer combined, or you can use it with a normal core material as Gutta Percha and this as a sealer also as a single cone. Or they said you can use it as a lateral condensation also. Though I never liked it in the lateral condensation. It used to again have a very less working time for that. Gutta flow initially was supposed to be triturated in amalgamators. So people who never had amalgamators, they had a problem. It was not a glass slab mixing material initially. And it had a low wettability. So it never used to coat a dentine wall properly. So you had to have a proper use of hypochlorite, and last reason has a EDTA. After so that your smear layer is moved, your surface tension becomes lower of the dentine wall, and you are supposed to dry it nicely because it was hydrophobic. So then it should be dried with the paper point nicely. Then only it used to flow nicely. Otherwise, it used to have lots of voids in that. So good flow was there provided you have used all the irrigants and dried it properly. It had a greater adhesion to master cone because of the Gutta Percha, as company said. It had expansion also. Virtually insoluble, bio-inert. Antimicrobial effect was because of nano silvers. It was non-cytotoxic, but it required extra armamentarium. And Gutta Flow 2, which was introduced over Gutta Flow in 2012. Basically, it was same Gutta Flow. Only thing was your mixing was changed. Instead of now mixing amalgamator, now you had a 2-tube auto mix syringe which you can mix on your glass slab, or you can directly inject in the canal. So basically your delivery system became better. Not much changes in that. Working time was slightly changed, more or less. You can say a little bit decreased, 10 to 15 minutes of working time, and setting time 25-30 minutes. It used to set regardless of temperature or humidity. Whether it is moisture, it will set it. But in moisture, it will set, but it will have a gap because it will not coat the walls properly. You still wanted a dry canals. Okay. Guttaflow BioSeal. This is the latest in this. Basically, now we are using, it is again something like a in between bioceramic and siloxane, like we had MTF Filafix, which was in between bioceramic and salicylate. This is intermediate between bioceramic and siloxanes. So basically, in a siloxane sealer or rubber-based sealers, we have added a bioactive material, a bioactive glass. Now, bioactive glass is supposed to liberate calcium hydroxyl ion, create an alkaline pH, which is ultimately going to form a antibacterial activity as well as formation of heart tissues. So basically, it has a bioactive glass in it. So it has a shorter working time of 5 minutes and setting time of 12 to 15. So from working time, you can see in 5 minutes, definitely it is not meant for lateral condensation and warm vertical compaction. It is only meant for single cone technique, which is called as cold hydraulic compaction technique or condensation technique, or a coneless technique, completely filling with the Guttaflow. It has a high pH and it is a bioactive because of a bioactive glass, antimicrobial because of nanosilver. Because of this, it also forms a hydroxyapatite because of a bioactive glass. Now, these are the materials. The first one you can see is basically our Guttaflow plane. Then came the Guttaflow 2. Delivery system became easier. Guttaflow BioSeal, same delivery system as Guttaflow 2, which is the easiest system to place in the canal and to mix, but advantage of having a bioactive. So now delivery is improved, so now improve the material to have a bioactivity. So take away silicone-based sealers. They are good for people who like to do a single cone. They have a good sealing by expansion. They are low soluble, good flow. They are biocompatible. Latest being in that is BioSeal being bioactive. Problem is they have a short working time. So if you're a person who are living in a hot area, hot temperature areas, and you are slow in your practice, you don't have too many attendants, I will not prefer it, because by the time I will coat the canal with this and take my master cone, it will set. So rather I will, if I want to use in those conditions, I will use a pure sealer inside the canal. So somehow I don't prefer this over that, because I don't prefer short working times. Okay, but it can be useful in cases where you want to do a immediate post-core preparations. So you want to place a post and core and immediately remove the GP, because we know, as per we have studied in Wien and other places, immediate post preparation is always preferred over delayed, because immediate post preparation you are familiarized with the direction of the canal. Secondly, filler is not that rigid that it can create cracks in the sealers, because in delayed there is chances that using drills can create a cracks, decreasing the seal of the sealer or obturation. So it is more preferred for immediate post obturation, post and core techniques, and where you want to use your calcium, your composite based resin cements like fiber posts, or in cases of opacotomy, you want a sealer to be immediately set. But definitely, if I want to use opacotomy, I will prefer bioceramic more over the sealer, because in that, if I am placing a complete bioceramic, I don't have to again make a retro cavity if I am clean the proper canal. In this, again, I will not like to have a silicone based sealer as my retro open in my periapical area. So even if I'm using this, I will still have to make a preparation and use a bioceramic on the back end. They are not good with a heating technique. They have very fast setting, even heat they set faster, so they are not good for that. The same thing which we have discussed, so I'm not going to discuss again. Glass ionomer based sealers, they were started because they were thought to be adhesive, like glass ionomer is, but there were lots of difficulties. They were very difficult to remove, and they never acted like the way we wanted them as sealers. So they never came. The first in that was a Kitak Endo by 3M, which is not used anymore, and Active GP by Bristler. Active GP is still available in some places in foreign, but not very easily. It was a powder liquid based system. Powder liquid based systems somehow always have an issue. It is a technique sensitive. Are you using it in a proper technique? You are using a proper amount. how you are saturating it, you are giving a proper time, what is your pressure. So there are lots of things. So somehow nowadays, since we are growing and we are advancing, we should go for the techniques which have more of a auto syringes or single syringes, so that at least that technical error or operator error is removed from that. They used to basically glass hammer used to bond to dentine but not to GP. So they introduced active GPs which used to have nanoparticles of biosilicate glass so that they can join to these glass ionomer sealers. So creating a monoblock effect. This was the first monoblock effect based sealers, but now they are discontinued. They were very difficult to remove, no antimicrobial activity, and their apical seal was poor to coronal seal. So these were available in the market initially, now no more. Resin-based sealers. Now these are the after zinc oxide sealers and siloxane sealer, if I am going to say, which is most commonly used in market, is a resin-based sealers. Now there are various type of resin-based sealers, that polyvinyl, epoxy, and methacrylate, in which nowadays we are only using epoxy resin, which is AH+, and methacrylate, only the last generation we are using. Now they are also extensively studied as much as your zinc oxide ethanol sealers. They have low solubilities, they have better strength and good adhesion. Now polyvinyl or polyketone sealer is a dikate. I'm not going to discuss too much about it. It was a powder system, not used anymore. It was in Europe, it was very famous. It was a sealer which was supposed to be, it was less soluble. It was basically an inert type of a sealer. So it was supposed to be used with endodontic implants. There was a technique known as endodontic implants. It was very much used in that time. Okay. It had a variety also known as dikate A. So it was very tacky, good adhesion, but they were highly toxic and they were slow to resolve. And they used to have encapsulation if they were extruded. And they used to interact with CMCP. I don't know if lots of people know, but in old times, before we used to use a tri-antibiotic phase and calcium hydroxide, and we didn't have that much of good irrigation. Our most endodontics were depending upon the intracanal medicament, and some of those medicaments which we don't use anymore are like CMCP was there, Formocresol were there, which are not considered anymore. They are more or less banned. So it used to interact in that. So it was introduced in those times when CMCP was very much in vogue to be used as intracanal medicament. Epoxy-based resin sealers, these are the most common in this group. First in that was AS26. In Europe, it was introduced as Thermacell. But it was by Dentsply. It was a powder liquid used in 2:1 and 3:1, depending upon what viscosity you want. Its setting time was 36 to 48 hours in body temperature and 5 to 7 days in room temperature. And setting was not influenced by moisture. So it was used to set in moisture also. The good part was, now when we say it was a long setting, so definitely placing an immediate post was problem in that. But remember, we always have a pros and cons. When we have a faster setting, we can place immediate post and core. But remember, whichever sealer sets faster, it tends to shrink also. Slower setting sealers, they tend to show less dimensional variations. They are more dimensionally stable. So they tend to give more sealing ability. Initially, it had a silver, then later version came without silver. It had a presence of hardness, which used to make it chemical and biologically inert. Only problem it has with hydrogen peroxide. Again, hydrogen peroxide nowadays we don't use as an irrigant, but in olden time we used to use it. And hydrogen peroxide used to interact with it, causing non-setability of AS26. So if you were in olden time people and you were using, or you still use hydrogen peroxide, then it is not supposed to be used with AS26. You are supposed to use a last irrigant as a saline after hypo, or EDTA and saline, and then dry and then use it. It has a good adhesive property. It has a very good flow. It was a high antibacterial. It is much better antibacterial than AS+ also because of paraformaldehyde or formaldehyde it released. It had a slight contraction, but not too much. It has a low solubility. But it was more toxic than AH+ because it has a formaldehyde releasing property. It had a silver initially, so there was staining in that also. So main problem was paraformaldehyde, which was reported with paresthesias. and this sealer was not dissolved with any solvents. So we had to purely depend upon the mechanical ways using a files and H file to scrape it out from the walls. So this was the old AS26 and AS26 silver free. AS Plus came later to it. It was improvement because there was no silver, no paraformaldehyde release. New type of tertiary amines were added to it, so no more staining. And delivery system became paste and paste, and setting time also became faster. So basically, setting time became 8 hours. Working time remained 4 hours. So with this working time, you can use it in any technique, from warm vertical compaction to lateral condensation. And it was more radiopaque. There was no release of paraformaldehyde, so no toxic effects of AS26. But since setting was faster, its sealing ability was less than that of AS26. But still, it was under the standard which ADA specified. It was still that much. The sealing ability was there. Its film thickness was lesser than that of AS26. So that was very good for us. It was less soluble than AS26. Now, latest in this, we are getting AH plus jet, which is Automix, so that because in paste-based system, you must have heard, or even if you used, you must have seen, it used to leak a liquid when you used to open the system. So there were lots of wastage in that, and then you used to end up having a different amount of base and catalyst tubes with you, because one is leak, one is that. And sometimes you used to get a very vague kind of mixture where you get a one paste and other, you only got a liquid more and less of a paste. So that was a problem with the paste-based systems. So with Automix, at least that problem is solved. Now, AS Plus, because of its maximum property, is considered as a gold standard. All sealers, they are compared with AS Plus to see how well they stand in the market. It is highly biocompatible, one of the biocompatible materials, user-friendly. It is thixotropic, so as you apply pressure, it flows more. So as you start using warm vertical compaction, it flows increases. So if you're using warm vertical compaction, you will get a very nice radio opaque X-rays, and since with good flow, they will go in the lateral canals. It is easy to remove. It can be removed by solvent also. It has a better flow. It has a good adhesion to dentine and gutta percha. And if you're using EDT as a last irrigant, it increases more to dentine. It bonds to GP also to a certain extent. It's soften it like ZN, like how zinc oxide usually soften the GP. Same way, it also soften a little bit GP. Disadvantage, sealing ability is lower than AS26 because it's faster setting, and storage issue is there. So AS26 and AS Plus, they used to flow in dentinal tubules also. So they used to penetrate the dentinal tubules, which are one of the most important, which I have shown here. Now, takeaway, most studied sealer after zinc oxide eugenol, biocompatible, thixotropic, so on pressure they flow more, easy to remove, excellent radio opacity, better flow, good adhesion to dentine. They are suitable for all kind of technique. And if you see, they are the most commonly used sealer in the market. Methacrylate based sealers, they were later came when in early 2000, late 1990s and early 2000, when we were going towards more of a bonding, where we were entering into era of self-etching primers, self-adhesive, or self-etching or self-bonding agents. So in those era it started. So before that, in this first generation was already there as a Hydron. Then second generation came as Endores and Real Seal. Then third generation was self-etching primer, Fibrifill, Epiphany. And fourth generation was self-adhesive cement, just like our resin cement what we use nowadays, as Metaseal, Hybrid Root Seal, or Smart Seal. So Metaseal SE and Hybrid Root Seal are same material. Hydron not anymore available was by Hydron technology. So it used to adapt to the wall. It was supposed to use a single material without any core material injected in the canal. It was highly inert material. It had a short working time, but low radio opacity. That was a major problem with this. So you cannot see where it has gone. Difficult to remove, and it's slightly cytotoxic. So this was in olden times, which was there. Endorase was introduced by Ultraden. It is a paste automix type of system. It was a dual cure UDMA based. UDMA is slightly cytotoxic compared to other resins which we have. It was supposed to use with the conventional GP or specific Endorase GP point which were coated so that there can be a bonding between resin cement sealer, which we call a sealer or resin cement, to the points and point joining to the GP because of your primer also. So it was creating a monoblock. Though now we say GIC was first to do a monoblock, but they never promoted themselves as a monoblock. This was the first which promoted themselves as a monoblock. Radio opacity was similar to Gatta Parcha cone. They were biocompatible. They required a primer a little bit. They had a poor shelf life, poor apical third sealing. They had a polymerization shrinkage. So basically with every sealer, that is a major problem, polymerization shrinkage. So this is the Endorase with their cones. Fabrifill was same. In this we had primer was in 2, A and B, which was supposed to be mixed with this. It is also discontinued. Then Epiphany, it was a dual cure hydrophilic resin sealers given by Pentron, again a paste-based system. It also has a self-etching primer. It used to claim that it created a secondary monoblock again. It was a dual cure with a self-cure time of 45 minutes. But the problem with Epiphany, it used to be used with a specific type of a polymer-based points, not with GP. Polycaprolactone, that was Resilon. It was supposed to be used with that. The problem with initially it looked very promising because Resilon was giving all the properties of GP that we can retrieve it also, being a polymer which was not we were thinking of, but it was there. But the only problem was that whatever it was showing in vitro were not happening in vivo. So its in vitro result never matched in vivo. There were lots of failures and lots of problems, so ultimately it was discontinued. It was highly radio opaque, easy to remove also was there, least irritating. It used to have polymerization shrinkage, like any of those. And it used to get biodegradable by basically their ester amide bonds used to get biodegraded, which used to get a leakage. So this was the Epiphany system with a primer, and we also have in this one thinner to decrease the thinness of your Epiphany, and one primer. And these points are not the GP points, these are the Resilon points. They appear like a GP. Now we have a hybrid root seal and a meta seal. Hybrid root seal was given by Sun Medical. Now it is not available by Sun Medical anymore in their site also. Meta seal is still available by Parkal. Both are the same products. They are 4 meta based products. Now 4 meta methyl based cements. And one of them, they have also made Superbond RC seal, which also have 4 meta methyl methacrylate with TBB. They have zirconia oxide as a filler, so they are highly radio opaque, definitely. And 4 meta have a tendency to bond to anything like metal, rubbers, teeth. 4 meta was the material which was introduced by Kobayashi for the dentine to describe hybrid layer. This was the first material which was used to describe hybrid layer. It has a very good bonding. It shows hybridization with dentine. So it was the material which was used in those studies where the hybridization word was coined. So it gives a hybridization, and it also binds nicely to your Gatta Parcha. It is though it is a methacrylate, it has a shrinkage, but if we see a methacrylate from our prosthodontics, we consider methacrylate to be toxic and polymethyl methacrylate to be less toxic. But when it is mixed with TBB, it becomes most inert biocompatible material. It has the least toxicity of all the polymers in the market. You can also know from the concept that MMA TBB is also used in medical science as a bone cement to join the fractured bone. So it is that biocompatible that you can use it to join the bones in the tissues. It has a setting time of, and since it can be used there, it is not affected by moisture. So it can set in the presence of moisture also. And being a resin, it has have a less solubility, so less leakage. Only leakage comes from the shrinkage, which has limited shrinkage it has. It has a setting time of 42 minutes. It can be used in dual cure as well as self cure mode. So in self cure, it sets in 42 minutes. Okay, but it sets faster in presence of temperature because we know whenever we increase the temperature, polymerization rate becomes faster. Since it's bond on both sides, it can create a sort of a monoblock. But since temperature cannot, we apply a temperature by our warm compaction technique, it makes it set faster. So that is the issue. So we cannot use it very nicely for bond compaction. So it is more preferable with cold obturation techniques like lateral condensation and or cold hydraulic technique. It was also used for technique known as simultaneous treatment of root canal filling and core construction. In this technique, they were used without they were used with a fiber post. This technique was introduced where fiber post was used as a core material. So where fiber post is used to fill the whole root canal as well as to help us to retain the core material also. So there was no concept of apical 5 mm for GP, but a complete core material. Basically, with this technique, we were strengthening the root canal also. They had a good polymerization. It used to show a complete polymerization. Very less amount of resin used to remain unpolymerized. Though unpolymerized methyl methacrylate TBB is also non-toxic, but still the degree of unpolymerized resin was less. It used to have a better seal than epoxy resin. Initially, it was stated by that way. It was highly biocompatible and least toxic monomer ever when unset. It can be used with GP even with Resilon. But disadvantage, like every resin, it has a polymerization shrinkage. So though they say it is having a better seal, but shrinkage we never know. Clinical studies always show it to have a more leakage. It has a less flow because somehow the filler particle index makes less flow, and it is very difficult to use also. One of the most difficult material to use. I've used it personally, and difficult to remove also. So this was the hybrid root seal. People have also used Superbond as a resin sealer material also. It is the same material that is a methyl methacrylate TBB. In this, you have to use a green one, which is basically a radiopaque, not the other color. So you get a TBB, monomer, and this. Here in root canal, we don't use the etchants, which comes with this. We are supposed to use a citric acid or EDTA. Takeaway: 4th generation, highly biocompatible, least toxic, excellent radiopaque, but difficulty in removal, poor flow, only used for cold compaction. So still not something which I will like to have in my operatory. Very limited uses for me. If I want to use, if somebody is having it, so it has a uses in luting of materials. It has a pulp capping also and luting of crowns also. So if you're having it, you can use it as a sealer if you are finding easy to use. But other than that, if somebody doesn't have it, I will not prefer them to have it. Now we'll come to latest in that, which we call as bioceramics. So we have discussed two materials till now, which were bioceramics, MTF Filafex and your Guttaflow BioSeal. Now we are going to discuss purely on the bioceramics. Bioceramic in dentistry are basically, there are three types of material. They should be bioinert materials, or they should be bioactive, which release something to create a effect from the tissue. Third is biodegradable, that they resolve and they basically form a material which helps in healing. So basically who are forming hydroxyapatite and a tricalcium phosphate particle inside. So these are, since they have to liberate and have to have a biological action, so they have to liberate something, so they have to be hydrophilic. Any material which is hydrophobic, doesn't take tissue fluid, will not release any material. So any bioceramic has to be hydrophilic. Obviously, we want radiopaque so that we can see them inside. They have to be biocompatible because we are releasing those material which helps in formation of tissue. So they have to be biocompatible and non-toxic. They have to be dimensionally stable. They should not expand, which was seen with lots of calcium phosphate cements. So they should not be too much expansion. They should be chemically stable, that they should not disintegrate after some time. They should have alkaline pH so that they can form, and with this alkaline pH they should form a hydroxyapatite in those areas, or hydroxyapatite hydrogels, which helps to join the your biological particles. Okay, so they have to be bioactive during the hydration period. So they have to do all the healing during the hydration period, but once they are set, they should be biostable so that they don't lose your seal. So once they have achieved their aim of closing the apical foramen, healing the periapex, then they should become bioinert, that they should not lose their seal. They can be used basically with normal GP or coated GP in hydraulic condensation technique. Hydraulic condensation technique is basically same single coat technique where most is a core. If you want to use a warm vertical condensation technique with a bioceramic, then you have to use a special GP, or you have to use a heat at a lower temperature of 150 instead of using at 180 to 220 degree. Now they are in two generations, the first generation sealers and second generation sealers. The first generation sealers are basically MTA based sealers. Now, if you know MTA based sealers, they were coarse, they were very difficult to make as a sealers because they had a very poor flow. But the flow was a major problem with those. So second based sealers were introduced where they had a bioactive glass, hydroxyapatite, and calcium, other calcium phosphate and calcium silicates. So the products which we call nowadays as the bioceramics are second generation bioceramics. MTA based sealers were the first generation bioceramics. So they set by the hydration reaction where they produce calcium silicate, hydrate, and calcium hydroxide, which further forms hydroxyapatite layer. So basically, when you say how they work, they are in alkaline pH, they release calcium hydroxide ions. Okay, and they diffuse sealer particles into dentinal tubules also, creating a mechanical bond. So they mechanically also bond. Once they mechanically bond, these alkaline pH forms your hydroxyapatite, and these hydroxide act like a calcium silicate hydrate gel, which is a sort of a glue which binds the particle more. So giving it a better seal and giving a bonding to dentine and to a GP. So first generation, which is MTA based sealers, are called as tricalcium silicate sealers. So main component is MTA, which is tricalcium oxide, tricalcium silicate, dicalcium silicate, bismuth oxide, tricalcium aluminate, tricalcium oxide, and silicon oxide. So MTA we know was developed by Tornedal in 1995. It was studied as a sealer by Holland in 1990. It is basically a powder liquid based system. Again, when you have a powder liquid based system, it has become technique sensitive. Sometimes we are not mixing it properly. Sometimes we end up, like when I started using these type of material, I end up having a powder with me and liquid finished. So this was the main problem. These type of sealers were more preferred in cold obturation techniques and lateral condensation, but not with warm vertical compaction. They were biocompatible and bioactive. They had, because alkaline pH, they had antimicrobial activity also, and they used to set in moisture because they are hydrophilic. And they used to form us, with the hydrophilic, they used to form a hydrogel, which give us stickiness. They slightly expand. Only problem with MTA based sealers is if your last rinse is EDTA, it will interfere with hydration of MTA. So if you are going to use these sealer, your last rinse should be hypochlorite and then again saline and then dried. They are low soluble. MTA based sealers cause discolorations because of ferrocyanins. Even the white MTA is supposed to show shown to show grayish color discoloration. So though you have removed the iron, lots of iron particles from gray to white, but still it shows discoloration. They are slight cytotoxic. If MTA goes in the tissues, it causes high cellular inflammations. Okay, they have a long setting times, but working time is very less. They have a difficult handling properties, less flow, There is no known solvent for MTA. MTAD has shown to slightly surface dissolution is supposed to be seen with MTAD, but it was not able to dissolve MTA properly. So whenever you have to remove them, you have to entirely rely on ultrasonics. Now they have a poor flow and faster setting on the heat. They are available as ProRoot Endo, MTA Plus, and Endo CPM. So ProRoot Endo Sealer, powder liquid. Endo CPM, again a powder liquid by Ergo Argentina. It used to have a calcium chloride, which is basically reduces the setting time further. So you can use a post-core faster if you want to do a post-core. And it used to liberate large amount of calcium carbonate, which provides a better sealing and supposed to give more alkaline pH. Now, when we go to these sealers, now we come to another sealer material like MTA, we known as biodentine. Biodentine was a technology where MTA was modified in a particle size with the bioceramic methods. So it was introduced as a biodentine. Now, biodentine was used with a calcium silicate with a biosilicate cement technology. This was used combined with that with the bioceramic sealers to make a new type of a sealer known as BioRoot RCS. So it is a mix of a biodentine and bioceramic sealers. So it is a tricalcium silicates content is there, but there is no aluminate in that. Working time is 10 minutes and setting time final is 4 hours with initial of 12 minutes. So basically you can use it to seal the cavity faster, and after initial set is there, you can use it for the post and core also. It is also like biodentine, it is bioactive, highly biocompatible. It also gives the same thing, hydroxyapatite is liberated. But since it is a biodentine, it does not have any discoloration or cytotoxicity of MTA. So if it goes out, it doesn't give you that much pain. It doesn't discolor the tooth that much. There is no effect of hypochlorite or chlorhexidine on it like that is seen in MTA based sealers. So this is a BioRoot RCS sealer. But again, this came in later stages of these in 2015 and 16. By the time we had sealers, bioceramic sealers, which were single paste. So if somebody asks me using a paste liquid system, which is compared to a single paste or auto mix syringes, I will prefer those. So though it is a good sealer, the delivery is not as advanced which we want in nowadays. We don't want an error even in the mixing also from our side. So we go to second generation, which contains zirconium oxide, tricalcium silicate, dicalcium silicate, silica, calcium silicate, calcium phosphate, calcium hydroxide, fillers and plasticizers. They have basically have a nanospillers particles inside them. They are pre-mixed, injectable single paste, white paste. They have a working time of 4 hours and setting time of 4 to 10 hours. They set in presence of moisture. pH is alkaline pH of 12 or high, depending upon the brand to brand. And if studies have shown, if you have used these sealers and you use a calcium hydroxide intracanal medicine, their bond strength improves more to a dentine. But that doesn't mean that every case you have to use a calcium hydroxide. If you're using a single sitting, you can use it directly. But it is shown how much clinical significant it is that we don't know right now. So it sets in presence of moisture, easy to use, insoluble. It is inert like your siloxane sealer. It is not soluble. It is a good radiopaque, but it is high wettability, which was not there in siloxane. It has a good flow. It is antimicrobial. It has a biocompatibility, bioactivity, and one set it is bioinert. It shows stimulation of periodontal regeneration and formation of bones also. If it goes out, it doesn't give pain as that of MTA. So it's somewhat like biodentine, no pain and no discoloration. Or you can say a mild discoloration. Endo sequence has shown to give a mild discoloration, but not major discoloration, which can be taken care of. Disadvantage, difficult to remove with solvents. So basically, you have same like your methacrylate sealant and GIC sealant, they cannot be removed, so you have to use ultrasonics. Or if you use a technique of monohydraulic block, so you can only remove GP. You can retreat with GPU. Just you have to pray that your sealer has not blocked the apical foramen so that you can give patency. So your GP was going to till the working length, till apical foramen, not this sealer. Then you can retreat and get apical patency. So even in those cases, you can get apical patency, but you cannot remove them from your lateral canals and internal tubules. Either you have to prepare too much and lose lots of dentine. So they are very difficult to remove that way. So when you're using, use them when you know chances of failures are less. So I will not like to use them in cases where I know my preparation is short, I am not having apical patencies where I can have failures. I will not like to use these sealers in those cases. Require special GP for monoblock if you want an exact monoblock, but you can use a normal GP also. And if you want to use with warm vertical compaction, you have to use again a special GPs with them which melt at 150 degree. They have less radiopacity. When you do bioceramic and you see the X-rays, they will not look as beautiful as you see in AH+. So if you see the white lines, they are not good, but yeah, they are much better tissue-wise or body-wise or clinically to have a seal than AH+. Because I don't believe all white lines in X-rays are as good as clinical. So AH+ might show you a very beautiful in X-ray observation, but can have lots of problems. But this, though, don't see that beautiful, but this material, if it is having a less void and filling maximum areas, chances of leakage are less. Example are iRoot SP, which is made by Innovative Bioceramics. The same company has made EndoSequence BC for Bracler, Total Fill BC for FKG, and Edge EndoSealer for Edge Endo. So it is the same material by one company. Now we have Cerasil B in India by Mark, Cerasil by Metabiomed. By Chinese company, you may be finding in whenever there is a trade fair coming, you will be finding Concept Root SP, UDG. So it is also available. And by Root C by Angelus, it is again a famous company. So these are available there. So mostly a single syringes, easy to use. Latest in this is Pozlan cement. Now Pozlan sealer combined with MTA, it is called as EndoSeal MTA. Pozlan cements are different from Portland cements. Portland cements are pure cements. Pozlan cements are not a pure cement used for making your settability. Okay, but Pozlan cements have excellent biological properties. So it is made from those. It has a better flow. It has a faster setting time of 12 minutes, and it is more radiopaque. It is also available in it is a latest launch and one of the latest launch cements. You can use it as a single filling material with a core or without a core. So this is available as a single syringe which can be injected in the canal. So now we will discuss what we prefer in the sealers. Should sealer be a hand mix or auto mix? It depends. Like if you are still like to use a zinc oxide eugenol and you are not using a tubeless seal, you will still be using a paste-based system or powder liquid system, so you will be hand mixing it. But in today's scenario, since we are advancing the sealer chemically, I will also prefer to have, like when we advanced in the composite, we went from the material science to even to the delivery systems were improved. Same way, I want delivery systems in sealers to be improved. So I will rather prefer auto mix or a single syringes. Hand mix always have operator errors, dispensing errors, mixing errors, atmospheric errors. There are lots of things which are there. So I will rather prefer an auto mix rather than a hand mix. There are studies which have shown that hand mix sealers shows large amount of pores in that, and ultimately they tend to leak more. So auto mix syringes are there. So that's why auto mix syringes are a way to go, or single syringes. So if you see hand mix AS plus shows significant higher total pore count compared to your other sealers. Okay, so if you are using with a syringe bits, that is has a less pore comparatively that. So same material AH plus in jet method and AH plus has two tube method. The two tube method have more porosities compared to a jet method. Now still if you want to use a mixing method, so we have to use a mixing, you can use a cooled glass slab or a paper pad and a spatula. It can be a metal spatula or a plastic spatula. I prefer metal spatula with zinc oxide and plastic spatula more with the resin sealers, because in metal spatula I can apply good pressure to compact the zinc oxide particle and to get a good body and a good smooth homogeneous mix. While in resin cement is only a paste bit, so I can directly go with a plastic spatula. Whenever you are using that, always clean resin cement we are using immediately with alcohol, because it tends to stick everywhere. It will be very difficult to remove later on. And most of my instruments in operative, they tend to come stained with AH26 and they are very difficult to remove later on. Whenever you are mixing, always follow the manufacturing instructions. Also see if there is any instruction given for the atmospheric changes. Like I told, Tbilisi and your PCS was having a problem with the area where it's humid and at high temperature. So like in India, we are living in high temperature in the area, and if you're living in Bombay, and this, of course, the instructions are changed a little bit. You have to use more of a liquid in those cases. Now, whenever we are mixing, we mix as per the manufacturing instruction, and then we check it. We check it with the method known as string test. When we mix it and we lift our spatula, it should at least rise 1 inch without breaking off. This is called as a string test method. Third method is known as drop test. You can see a machine showing a timer. So when it mixes and spatula is placed edgewise, so you can see sealer is not dropping off. Now right now timing is 11 seconds, and when 11 seconds are gone, still it is slightly gone down but not dropped off. So this is called as drop test. So even in 10 or 15 seconds, it should not drop. So if it is not dropping in 10 seconds, then it is a good consistency of a sealer. Now, once we have mixed, how to apply a sealer? We can apply a sealer with Latham method by files, by taking a file, coating the files and moving anti-clockwise, by spreaders. Some people prefer spreaders. They prefer spreader because they are more smooth. So they file in the spaces. Your sealer get entrapped, so it is not coated properly. So you can also use paper points. I prefer paper point method. Some people can use a master cone or gatta parcha also. Some people prefer lentillar spirals. Sonic devices like endo irrigator is also used. Ultrasonic devices also used. And sometimes we have syringes, like in bioceramic we use syringes also. So if you are mixing in hand, then you prefer basically file, paper point, lentillar spiral, and sonic devices. Sonic devices and ultrasonic has shown to fill more of the lateral canals, but I don't prefer those methods because I don't have that much control on myself. I think I can extrude a sealer, or I can make a sealer cone apical area where master cone may not go down and my lower apical seal may be full of sealer. So I don't prefer this method. I prefer more of a paper point and gatta parcha or a file method, in which I take a carrier and I coat apical 6 mm that, and I take it till the working length, rotate anti-clockwise, pump. This way and then I coat my master cone and place it. But if I'm using a sonic and ultrasonic, I try to prefer to place my sealer in apical to middle, coronal to middle third, and use in that area so that it coats there. And then I will use my master cone coated with sealer and push that coronal sealer to go down with the my main core material. Because in these devices, there's high amount of centrifugal forces which can push sealer down too much. In syringes, if you're using, no problem in syringes. You have to place the syringe as much as there are two methods in syringes. If you're using syringes like in endo sequence, so what you can do is you can inject a ceramic sealer in the coronal to middle third with a syringe and take little bit sealer in the glass slab and coat your cone with a sealer and use a sealer to push your coronal sealer which you have placed in the canal to the apex. So you have a sealer in the cone as well as sealer in the coronal third in this. And some sealers, like I have shown you, your EndoSeal MTA, those type of sealers, if you want to place completely in the canal, then you can take it till the area your tip is going, short of 1 or 2 mm short of your working length, and it should be loose, and you start injecting it, and then you can use a core material directly over that. That is also a method you can use it, but in that method, the chances will be high that your apical foramen will be blocked with the sealer. Now, sealer placement, most studies have shown whichever method you use, placement don't differ that much. There is always irregular sealer placement in apical areas, and none of the technique covers complete dentinal wall of the canal. Maximum we are able to cover only 60 to 70%. Now, method of obturation definitely changes how the sealer covers the canal. Lateral condensation and warm vertical compaction, they seal the canal walls much better than single cone. Single cones tend to have lots of porosities. Lateral condensation distributes sealer very nicely in your middle third or coronal third, while warm compaction pushes the sealer nicely in the apical third. So you get lots of lateral canal filled in that, because the lateral canals are seen in apical third. So when you're using a warm compaction, you will see a lot of lateral fillings. Yeah, role of smear layer is also there in the sealer penetrations. So if you're not using, it depends what sealer you are using, what irrigation you're using. If you're only using hypochlorite, you may not end up having a lateral canal fill or sealer in the lateral canal. You have to use a good strength hypochlorite agitated, followed by 17% EDTA agitated, dried. Some people like to use alcohol as a resistance and dried to remove the moisture also, so that sealer can penetrate. And but with these sealer which are hydrophilic, you don't have to use alcohol. You can just dry it after EDTA and saline directly, and you can use them. So should sealer go, and we should have a sealer puff or not? So is it a good thing to have a sealer puff or not? Lots of people in Facebook, they will be happy to have a puff, and lots of people will be criticizing them. Oh, you are having a puff, it is not good. Is it a good or not good? Well, answer is equally dicey. It is good and it is also not good, because it depends upon why the puff has come. It is only the doctor who can decide it is good or not. And you are ideally, as a technician or clinician, we should be the one who should decide, not the other people in the Facebook. It is good or bad, because when we are using a technique, we know why the puff has come. So I will discuss with those things. So puff is also known as overfilling. Puff is a good thing because it shows I have done proper cleaning by mechanical and chemical means. So I had a good irrigations, which was good agitated. There is no smear layer, no blockage in the main canal, apical foramen, and in the lateral canal. So all tissue is gone. If there is some tissue left in lateral canals, I will never have lateral puff or lateral canal seen in the sealer. So if I am getting a puff, it means I have cleaned the lateral canal. That means I have cleaned the canal very well. Then if it is going down, that shows I have apical patency. Apical patency is one of the most important thing in endo. If you don't have apical patency, you will end up leaving a tissue in apical third, which will lead to a failure. And apical patency cases are very difficult to treat in future, because they don't you don't get a direct access to a periapex, and it is filled with a compacted collagen glue, which is very difficult to remove. It creates sort of a block or a ledge. So if I am getting basically a puff, I know at least I have a apical patency. Now, secondly, it comes when I am using, if I am using a single cone technique, or I am using a lateral condensation, or I am using a warm vertical compaction, I will always get puff more in the warm vertical. So that means I know my compaction is tight enough. So I am getting a good hydraulic pressure. So my GP is compacting and spreading towards the wall. I am getting a better seal. Or in lateral condensation, I have done a good lateral condensation. I have not used limited number of lateral condensation cones. I have used good amount of cones. So now it is a tight seal. In those cases only, I will get sealer pushed into these places. So if I am getting your puff because of these reasons, they are good. Here, puff are inadvertent. You are not causing puff to come. They are coming because of the things you have done good. Now, when puffs are bad, when I know I have not done a good irrigation, I am getting a puff. I know I was not having a patency. My 10 number file was not going beyond the apical foramen. Apex locator was not showing over the apex reading. So I had a blockages and I still get a puff. So it is wrong. So I have not tried to maintain apical patency that way. Or I have used a single cone technique and I am getting a puff. This is also not right, because single cone technique, you cannot achieve that kind of a hydraulic pressure. So in those cases, it is bad. Now, why it comes in those cases? Because in those cases, your GP is not approximating or it is not of the same diameter of that diameter of the apical foramen. So there is a gap between GP and dentinal wall from which your sealer is leaking. Ultimately, your seal is from the sealer, the weakest link, or your complete apical seal is from the sealer. So here it is more of the error of placement of a sealer or placement of the master cone, which is giving up the puff. So if you see this, two photographs, if I see the round ones, if I'm getting somewhere around B or F, I'm getting a puff, I'm happy. But in cases like D and C, where I can see more of a sealer and I get a puff, these sealers can resolve in future and give it. So in these cases, if I am doing a single cone rather, and I am practitioner who prefer single cone and don't like to achieve a tight compaction of a core material, and I like to use a single cone technique, then and I can have a puff, and still I don't want to have a failure, then I will rather prefer bioceramic sealers. These type of gaps with other sealers are no-no. So basically, puffs are good if you know your technique is good, your master cone selection is good. So that means you have cleaned everything. But if you are using a single cone technique and your master cone was not accurate, then it is not a good, and you are not use bioceramic, then remember in long term you are going to lose a seal as soon as your sealer get resolved. So what is the issue with puffs? Puffs, lots of sealers except for bioceramic sealers or MTA based sealers are your siloxane sealers, that is Gattaflow based sealers. All sealers are slightly irritating, so they can lead to post-operative pain. Most of the sealers are stain, they cause stain also, so you can get staining also. Sealer push, some sealers are very slow resolving, so instead of that, they act like a foreign body and create a foreign body reaction, which get encapsulated. So you don't get a regeneration of a bone formation in periapex, but you get a fibrous sealing or fibrous scar formation. When sealer goes out, it is very difficult to assess if healing is happening or not. Sometimes sealers may take 9 months to go away. You don't know bone is formed or not. And sometimes sealers can go in the spaces like mandibular canal, maxillary sinus, and can lead to a complication in those areas like paresthesia and problem in those sinusitis. So now we come to last point, choice of sealer. So when I see Facebook, lots of people ask which sealer we should use. Most common question answer I see is why the sealer it is cheap. Or second question thing I get is from the review, I am using it is very good. I have got not a patient, single patient coming back. Remember, obturation failures take time to come. Patient will, even I told you, do a good cleaning and don't obturate, and good coronal seal, failures will not come fast. But that doesn't mean we should we should not obturate the canal. So, and that doesn't also mean we should use a bad sealer if you're not getting a pain. We should still use a good sealer which gives a long-term sealability. Cheap is not something, when patient comes to it, comes with lots of faith. If we are using a good material, we can always ask for a little bit more charges. They are material in range. Not everybody want to use bioceramic and go in biosiloxane, can use the siloxanes also. So you have in that also. So you have to know which technique you're using. So what core material you are using? You're using a normal GP. So there are lots of material which can be used with normal GP. Some require specific GPs. Whether you have a coated GP, so if you're using coated GP, you have to use those type of materials. If you are having a bioceramic coated GPs, you have to use bioceramic materials. Much better to use those. If you are having your Gattaparcha coated GPs, so those use those ones. Which technique you are going to use, cold or warm? See, if you're using prefer single cone technique, go for siloxanes, bioceramic sealers. If you have warm, you have lots of options from zinc oxide eugenol to your epoxy resins, even to bioceramics, if you can control the temperature and you have a specific GP for that. Canal morphology also decide, like if you have a perforations, then I will rather prefer sealer which is bioactive, like bioceramic or MTA based sealers. If I have ledges, I will prefer sealer which has more flow. So I can go for sealers, I can say more like PCS. which can flow more, or AH plus, I can use that. Okay, those sealers I will prefer more. Dry or wet. Some sealers don't like wet canal. If I had a preparation, I want to do obturation the same day and I had some bleeding, I will rather, and there was slight wetness is still there, or it had a big periapical, I know I cannot achieve 100% still dryness today. So I will prefer sealer which can set in wet, so like epoxy resin and bioceramic. I will not prefer siloxane based sealers like Gattaflow in this condition, in wet environment. In dry, I have option to use maximum, except for your salicylate based sealers which don't set in dry environment. Apical size, small or large. If it is large size, I will again, it is like open apex, I will prefer bioceramic sealers more. Post endo restoration, immediately I want to do it with resin, I will prefer siloxane sealers in bioceramic because they set faster. I don't have to call, but in bioceramic, I will not use MTA base. I will use pure second generation, or I will use methacrylates fourth generation, or for this. And if I want to use a post, I have to use a material which can set faster. So like siloxanes sealers set faster, your bioceramic set faster, so they can be used for immediate post preparation. Now, retreatment objective. I know my preparation was not good. There were some ledges and some issues in my preparation. Patient is attempting to obturate it, but I know this case can fail. I will prefer to place a sealer which can be retrieved. So here I will not prefer bioceramic sealers which cannot be retrieved. So here I will prefer somewhat like siloxane sealers, like Gattaflow or epoxy resin based sealers. So in short, let's see. These are the properties: setting time, solubility, sealing ability, antimicrobial flow, biocompatibility, bioactivity, radiological parameters, staining, ease of technique, are they removable or not, composite compatibility, and some extra points which some sealers have. So if we go to setting time, shortest setting time is seen with Gattaflow of 17 minutes, followed by your bioceramic sealer known as Endoseal MTA, which is 12 to 17 minutes again. Then fourth generation, your methacrylate resin sealers, which is 42 minutes. And then calcium hydroxide sealers like 40, around 1 hour. So if I have to place an immediate post and co, or I want to do a surgery, then I will prefer these kind of sealers. So I will prefer siloxane sealers or bioceramic sealers. Now sealing ability, most sealing ability, if you see, is good and with bond formation and expansion is seen in bioceramic and in MTA, followed by your Gattaflow, followed by your epoxy resin, which also bond to dentine. Then it goes to your salicylate and zinc oxide eugenol. Salicylate and zinc oxide eugenol are more or less same. Salicylates, calcium hydroxide, initially they shows good sealing, but long term they dissolve. Zinc oxide eugenol, it is not providing you good sealing. So if you are preferable to use zinc oxide eugenol, always do a good lateral condensation or always do warm vertical compaction. They are meant for that. Okay. All methacrylate sealers, they have poor sealability, definitely. Now, when we go to antimicrobial effects, antimicrobial effects is not that important. Sometimes it is from the toxic products, sometimes it's from the good products. But if I can get it from the good products, well, we always want it. And then comes the bioactivity and biocompatibility. I always want my material to be biocompatible and bioactive. So if I see siloxane, it is biocompatible and bioinert, which I prefer it. And if I see MTA, it is also bioactive, and ceramic also biocompatible, bioinert. So these are the properties I want from my materials. So this finishes our preparation. So now I go back to moderators. Saurabh.
Hi, sir. Amazing session. A nice, good, complete background about sealers. It was amazing to hear. A lot of things that I was not aware of, I came to know today. It was a very beautiful session. Saurabh.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir, for a very in-depth, detailed lecture regarding sealers. Lot many new points and which we discovered today. So there are few. It was a complete comprehensive lecture. Very few questions, which was there. Some doctor had asked that from where did you take the classifications of the lecture, sir, of the sealers, classification of the sealer.
One is for Cohen, and second is basically there was a review done in 2020, which has given that classification as per the main ingredient. It is a meta-analysis done in 2020. Comprehensive review on the sealers. So it is available in Google. He can search it. He will get it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, the rest of the questions were which sealer to use for lateral compaction and all that, which you have covered it comprehensively in the last slide. So I'll not repeat and waste the time. I'll hand over to Anand if he has any questions, sir.
Yes, sir. Sir, a few questions. Actually, most of them have been answered, but just just to have a quick follow-up. Kirti M is asking if the patient comes with pain after obturation the very next day. What is the fault, cleaning and shaping or the obturation?
If patient is, you are doing, cleaning and shaping, you have done if I am assuming you have asked the question where you have done the all single sitting work. You are not doing a 2-sitting work. Cleaning and shaping is done on the same day. So most of the time, and you are not introduce a sealer too much. You are not seeing a very big puff in the other areas. So mostly the pain is coming from the over instrumentation or pushing the debris, either from the irrigation or that. Since we have seen most of your GP is already inert and sealers have some cytotoxicity, but not that much. So maximum time pain is coming from your preparation per se and irrigation where you are pushing the debris, not from that.
Okay.
Or sometimes missing the canals. Like sometimes they don't have a patency or they miss some canals. Missing MB2s.
Yes. Yes. And sir, if they are doing double sitting again?
In double sitting, like if you have done the preparation first time and second time patient comes to you and there is no pain. So definitely you can say you have not pushed anything. So now when you are getting a pain and you don't get a bigger puff, and since we see normal lots of your sealers are biocompatible and you still see a pain in this. Now this pain is because of basically you have missed something. Your canal is missed. That is the first thing because you create a pressure. As soon as you create a pressure, missed canals start to give pains. Okay. Always remember, open teeth, broken down teeth never pains. Whenever a patient comes with a pain with a root canal, it is always a teeth with the smallest decays with maximum tooth still intact. Root pieces don't pain that much. Right. When pressure can release. So missed canal always pain in that cases. Sealer pain you will only see when pushed too much.
Okay. Sir, Dr. Manish Goel is asking, what is more important, coronal seal or the hermetic apical seal?
Always the apical seal, not coronal seal is more important. So first thing is a coronal seal. There are techniques where people tried using a root canal without obturating. And there are lots of studies where they have done a fabulous crowns, no leakage, and they are working fine. Coronal seal always have, basically bacteria, there was a concept of anacrosis where bacteria travel by blood to this, but it is not proven. And if you have cleaned nicely, bacteria and periapex are always eaten by your body immune system, by your phagocytes and that. So remaining bacteria in dentinal wall, if you're doing a good irrigations, they are in spore forms. They don't get that much tissue fluid to and don't get that much nutrition from the tissue fluid to eat and grow that much. Basically, maximum amount of bacteria to increase the count, they come from saliva from the top. So if coronal seal is good, that is the main. So it is important. That has only remove and coronal seal is more important, but this is also important.
You can't skip this for sure. So I guess that takes care of most of the questions because the other questions are pretty repetitive, as Saurabh mentioned, and you have already covered it in your thorough lecture. So if someone,
my main will be to everyone will be at least go for warm vertical compaction as a first choice if they are doing zinc oxide urinol. No, don't use a single cone with zinc oxide epoxy resin. You end up seeing when you remove the case, cones comes like this. There's no sealer.
Right.
Go for vertical compaction. If you don't like that, you don't want to buy the machines, at least go for lateral condensation. And if you really want to use a single cone, then go for the good sealers. Then go for directly for bioceramics. Then don't use zinc oxide urinol.
So there's one question by Dr. Rebecca Lalu. Salicylate sealers has the highest solubility and poor bonding. So what would you recommend as sealers as your routine sealers, sir?
See, if you come to my practice, I don't have one sealer in my practice. I am not like a dentist who says only one. If you using a composite, you don't say I will fill every shade with 8-2 shade or 8-3 shade. For aesthetic, a good work, you have to have a multiple things, right? You will have two type of bonding agents, self-etching and total etch also. Same way in sealer, you at least have to have a two type of sealers. My practice, see, I don't think I'm too good in lateral and vertical compassion, though I may be good, but I don't prefer myself. I always think as a dentist, I can always prone to errors. So I don't prefer zinc oxide eugenol sealers that much. I used it in my PG days and initial days, but I stopped using them. My major sealers is epoxy resin sealer and bioceramic sealer. So I only have two. Rico seal I used in between. I never liked them. I had a problem with their cleaning in the canal and they used it. So most of my cases are AH plus and bioceramic. The other two sealers I use.
Right. Cannot hear you, Anand. Your voice is on mute.
Sorry. Yes, I guess we are done.
Yeah.
Yes, I think it was a very great comprehensive lecture, sir. Thank you very much, Dr. Anand Wilson.
Thanks a lot, sir.
Thanks from my side.
Thanks a lot, sir. It was nice to meet you again. It was nice meeting you.
Same here.
Thanks a lot.
Let's hope to meet you in
today's session. Thank you, sir. Hope to meet you soon. The questionnaire for today's session would be posted tomorrow morning. So please hold on till tomorrow morning for the questionnaire. And see you back again after a few days for obturation with Dr. Vivek Hegde, sir. Bye-bye. Good night.
Bye. Good night.
Bye.
Take care.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay.